Well, seeing it is 7:03 p.m., we can go ahead and get started. I now call the meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. Welcome to ANC 1 East February General Body Meeting. A few administrative notes. Today's meeting is being recorded. Closed caption is available for each user by clicking the button on the toolbar below. Please submit any questions you have through the Q&A function, also located on the toolbar below. Commissioners will be keeping an eye on the Q&A throughout the evening. If you are calling in rather than participating through the web, you may raise your hand by dialing 9. I will now ask Secretary Howard to please conduct the roll call.
I'm here. Commissioner Grant.
Here.
Commissioner Hawker. Commissioner Brown.
I see Commissioner Brown in the audience, so I am promoting her to panelist.
I'll wait 10 seconds then. There we go.
Promote to panelist failed. Maybe continue and we can circle back to
Okay.
Oh, there
I got
she
her
is.
first, yeah.
Commissioner Brown is here.
There we go. Hi,
Yeah.
Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Newland. Commissioner Jacobson.
Present.
Commissioner Footer.
Present.
Mr. Chair, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 seated commissioners in attendance, a quorum is present.
All right. Thank you so much, Secretary Howard. Per DC law, the ANC 1E meeting was noticed to the community via listserv, social media, our website, and the e-calendar. We will move to the approval of the agenda, and I will share my screen. Is this readable?
Control Z a bit. Zoom in.
Too small.
Command Z.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
There you go. Yep. There you go.
That's better? Great.
Can you go in just a little bit more?
Black on black, Josh. It's very fancy.
Does that make it harder to read?
No.
Okay. Is this good enough?
Yes.
Cool. So we are moving to the approval of the agenda. I'll just scroll through it. We have the administrative matters, consent agenda, community announcements and presentations, officer and committee reports, some other official business, and the adjournment. Are there any additions to the agenda? All right, I will now accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is moved and seconded. All those in favor of adopting the agenda signify aye by raising your hand. All those opposed signify nay. And any abstentions? All right, with 5 votes in favor and 0 votes opposed, the motion passes and the agenda is adopted. We will now move on to the consent agenda. Just a reminder, all matters listed under consent are considered by the commission to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any commissioner, however, may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. The consent agenda tonight just includes the approval of the January 2026 ANC1E public meeting minutes. Are there any concerns with this item on the consent agenda? Oh, Commissioner Brown, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, we repeatedly have supported the rock and roll marathon, and I'm wondering why it's not on the consent agenda and why it's on the Transportation and Public Space Committee for discussion.
I do not have concerns with moving it to the consent agenda if there aren't concerns from other folks. Some folks just like to hear about it, but I'm happy to move the consent agenda.
I think if it's treated as a committee report, it's probably staying. It's under the committee section, but you can think you can do whatever you want, really.
Especially if they're here. We can certainly hear from them, but usually it's something that we just support because it's always here, and as long as they're doing the proper outreach. But yeah, if there are community members that want to talk about it, I'd keep it at committee. I wouldn't mind keeping it at a committee discussion.
Okay. Yeah, it's usually quick anyway. Okay. Thank you, though. All right. Hearing no additions or subtractions, then I will now accept a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda with unanimous consent.
All right. Is there any dissent? Hearing no dissent, the consent agenda is adopted. We will now move on to community announcements. Commissioners and members of the community can use this time to make public announcements, distribute information, or alert the community about issues. We'll start with guest speakers, then move on to commissioners, then members of the public. All speakers will have 3 minutes. If you are here to speak on an issue or topic under official business, please hold until we get to that agenda item later in the meeting. Up first, we have Eliza Roche Robinson, who I will promote to panelist. And I will also go ahead, I think someone beat me to it, and promote Stephanie, since Stephanie will be after. Oh, I see.
I think there's a hand raised.
Yes, I went to go promote Eliza and
Oh, I see.
raised her hand, so I thought someone beat me to it.
Gotcha.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys see me and hear me? That was me that raised my hand.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Yep, you have
Awesome.
3 minutes, Eliza.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eliza Roche Robinson, and I am Councilmember Nadeau's Constituent Services Specialist. So I'm going to try to go as quickly as I can. But first and foremost, Councilmember Nadeau did release her 2026 Ward 1 update, which, can I put that in the chat? I can drop the link.
Yeah, at least the Q&A, we can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, you have the chat. Okay, cool.
Okay, awesome. Okay, but for the past 11 years, she's been proud to serve Ward 1, working to expand affordable housing, protect our neighbors and the environment, and make sure that the everyday critical functions of government actually work for all of us. The update highlights what she's worked on over the past year and what she'll be fighting for until the end of her term. Residents are encouraged to take some time to read it and share their ideas with us. Next is housing. So there's a lot of great news on housing. Last week, Councilmember Nadeau and Councilmember Robert White introduced major legislation to modernize how DC funds housing. This bill would replace the existing Housing Production Trust Fund with a new Housing Opportunity Fund, which is designed to be more flexible and responsive to the housing challenges that we're seeing in DC. The fund would include 5 dedicated accounts focused on housing production, deeply affordable housing, preservation, tenant purchases, and land acquisition. The goal is basically to move beyond one-off fixes and create a housing system that actually meets the moment of today, especially as market conditions make new housing harder to build. The Housing Committee is expected to hear this legislation as soon as March. Related to that, the council member recently heard strong support for the One Front Door Act, which would modernize building codes to allow a single stairway in residential buildings up to 6 stories. This change would allow more family-sized units at a lower cost without sacrificing safety. Cities like New York and Seattle have already done something like this similarly, and have done it successfully. Modern fire suppression and building design make these buildings just as safe while allowing more housing in the same space. The council member's full remarks from that hearing are also available on her website. Next is the wastewater spill. So just to share a quick update about that. First and foremost, DC's drinking water remains safe. The drinking water system is completely separate and the intake is upstream of the spill. Residents should still avoid contact with the river. DC Water reports the situation is under control. A bypass is in place. So sewage is no longer entering the river and crews are working on repairs and cleanup. The council member and her colleagues in the council will continue oversight to ensure public health and environmental safety remain top priority. Next is DPW oversight. So now that we're past the crazy snowstorm, the council members' oversight role as chair of the committee overseeing DPW continues. Residents have shared extensive testimonies during the first part of DPW's performance oversight hearing about snow response challenges. This feedback will directly go into the questions that you will be asking when the agency appears in early March. Written testimony can still be submitted if you are interested in submitting that through the council website. And you can also contact us if you need help in doing that. Lastly, just overall performance oversight season is wrapping up in a few weeks. Recently, the council member has shared a strong panel on the Department of For-Hire vehicles, focusing on delivery, driver protections, upcoming carrier for hire regulations, and importance of wheelchair accessible vehicles. She's also pressed agencies on healthcare funding, the Columbia Heights Stabilization Center, and making the community navigators pilot permanent. Residents are strongly encouraged to continue to testify. Your experiences with city services really matter. And I can also drop the hearings link in the chat for you guys. So please, we encourage you to testify. And the last thing is that we are still hiring for another constituent services specialist, a committee director, and a legislative analyst. And if you guys have any questions, feel free.
Thank you. I will go to commissioners for questions first, and then members of the public. Commissioner Howard?
Thank you for that update. I really appreciate it. We did a ANC-wide survey and got a pretty good number of responses, and I'm going to walk through the results of that later tonight.
Awesome.
But what I'd love to do, you mentioned that hearing, I'd love to turn that into like testimony and get it submitted. So when's the deadline for that again? What'd you say?
I believe we're taking it until the end of the week.
Oh,
but
good.
let me
Okay.
check back on that.
That's plenty of time because we got the results already done, everything. So
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Of course. Any other questions for me?
There was a question in the chat about updates on the redevelopment project that is taking place on Georgia Avenue between Irving and Columbia Road. I have a little bit of information. I don't know if you have updates, Ms. Robinson.
No updates, but I can definitely follow up on that.
Yeah, so this is for Bruce Monroe. I heard that they're during a GEMPED's oversight hearing that they expect the groundbreaking to be pushed to 2030. So we may need to do something on the ANC level to push on that, because 2030 is a little bit later than I think a lot of us were hoping for. So happy to work with other commissioners on that. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, in addition to that, DPR had promised to, in the midst of us having a better understanding of the development project timeline, that they would work with us to gather community feedback on the 1 acre park programming and design. And I haven't heard from DPW. I have a lot of great trusted folks that I have been working with for a long time on the park design, and prior to that on other things related to DPR, specific issues in Parkview, and I just haven't been hearing back. So happy to give you those emails to follow up on. And, constituents are getting a little bit antsy, especially since this ANC has reported out a specific timeline that came from the developers and from DPR. And I just think that that adds to the mistrust of government and the community. And I would hate to continue that type of rumblings in the community. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can definitely follow up on that.
Yeah.
They definitely should have responded, but absolutely just send them over to me. Any other questions?
Any questions from members of the public? If so, feel free to raise your hand. All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Ms. Robinson, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Up next, we have Stephanie Envincula from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is Stephanie Envincula, the Ward 1 Liaison Mocher for the Mayor's Office. Just have a few information to give out to the public. We are in budget season now, and Mayor Bowser would like to invite the residents and everyone in the community from all 8 wards to join her on her last annual budget engagement forum that will be taking place tomorrow at the Dock 5 in Union Market. That's tomorrow, the 26th, starting at 5:30. For her 12th year in a row, the forum will give residents the opportunity to share their values and opportunities with the mayor before she sends her fiscal 2027 budget to the council. Opportunity for the residents to state their opinions. There's a game that's also played to give the idea, give residents the idea how most of the budget and things get moved around in council or within the government. Just to give the residents idea, and with this forum, this pretty much helps the public understand how certain decision making takes place, and we also like to hear from you, the residents, and she takes that as well to also just finalize the budget decision that's to give to the feedback for the council. Apart from the forum, I also wanted to share about DPW with trash collection. I know I received a lot of emails and also just messages in regards to areas that still haven't been picked up or they have been picked up. They are currently still working on that, and just continue to please submit your 311s. And with the 311, once you receive your SR number, please put that in the email to flag to me so I can also escalate it to the rec team and to collection team. I know that they've been working pretty hard, and apart from working on the winter schedule, they're also going into the spring session as well. So I know that I'm gonna get a lot of questions regarding winter moving forward into the spring, but I did want to share that starting March 1st to October 1st, they'll be beginning the street sweeping. So I just wanted to have friendly reminder, if when the street sweeping begins, if vehicles can be moved and placed in the correct area of the street, please remember to read the signs correctly, because that will be starting soon. And I think that's all I have for today. If you have any questions, I'm open to any questions, and happy to help.
Thank you so much. I see Commissioner Howard has his hand raised. And members of the public, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to raise your hands as well.
Yeah, Stephanie, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to start by saying, like, 3 different constituents complimented the interaction they had with the DPW drivers, the snowplow guys that were out there like trying to get through the snow and the trash collection as we can. So I just wanted to say that I think the workers have just been fantastic and really engaged. I think everybody kind of understood the position they're in, the position everybody else was in. So thank you for that, and thank you for everyone who was out there and responded as best we could, dealing with a fairly new phenomenon for DC, which is snowcrete. We all learned that term. I'll send you a copy of the results survey we did. When you mentioned 311, I did want to point out it's a consistent theme that's not tied to just the snow. I think the number one complaint I probably hear from constituents is that their case is dismissed without any resolution, and they just at a certain point when they keep applying the case, it prevents them from doing so for X number of days. And this seems to be a consistent theme. Like, for instance, of the of the folks that used 311 during the snow event that filled out our survey, there were like 14 people that used it, and all 14 people gave it mostly very dissatisfied. The reason being the request was closed without the problem being fixed. The problem was never solved. I received no communications or updates. And then I went back and looked, and I think I was looking in the right spot too. A couple people pointed out that there's no snow removal request. You have to kind of like guess the category in 311. So I'll send you this full report, but I think those are the two biggest things I wanted to, since you brought up 311, that I wanted to, and we tried to push, I think all of us tried to push through requests as they were brought to our attention, and we prioritized them on behalf of our constituents, and they did a great job. And again, Randy is a miracle worker at DPW, so I just very grateful for her. But just wanted to kind of flag that I know there was a lot going on in that snowstorm, but that seemed to be a consistent criticism, regardless of a winter storm or not, and something that I think I would appreciate looking into. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for that, and thank you for actually bringing that to the public awareness and myself. I also very aware when it comes to 311s when we myself as well put in the tickets in. We have also noticed that, but I know in the language that they say is closed at time, it just is, they mark it as that for their purposes, which confuses the public, because then it appears that means for them the ticket is closed, but in reality it means something else for them, just saying that they have been on it or working on it, but they haven't completed it. But it is confusing at times. I just want to clear that out.
So closed doesn't mean it's like done?
No, it's
Oh.
no.
What does
But
it
I
mean?
know, but we have flagged that to the team, and they're aware. But I know that it's very confusing because we get that a lot.
What does it say when it is closed?
It's gonna say it's just it's
Oh, okay,
gonna
okay.
say close. But I know it's confusing because I know we've mentioned that as well with this, which is something that the language needs to get fixed.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome. And I think in regards to, you said, mentioned snow is not in the 311. I believe at the time when snow, that was called in. They didn't put that in specifically. I forgot the reason why, but it was in. I don't think it was in there from the beginning.
Yeah, I poked around. I think the closest you got was like road repairs, which didn't really fit. So people were a little confused on how to submit it. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners or members of the public? All right. The only feedback that I had that we'll have in a resolution later for this body, it was difficult to get a straight answer from DPW as to when trash would be picked up, and I know there was a lot going on. But the main feedback that I'd have there is coming up with some sort of plan for route equity. We missed trash collection on our block for about a month, and people 2 blocks away had their trash picked up 4 times within that period. So my understanding is that DPW has moved to electronic routes. So maybe there's something that DPW could be doing to make it so that instead of some people getting their trash picked up consistently and some people never getting their trash picked up in situations like this, dividing it up and going to like emergency operations and making sure that everyone gets their trash picked up on at least a weekly basis. Stephanie, anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I don't think so. I believe that my colleague, I'm not sure if she's on. Ty was going to introduce herself from DDOT. But that's probably the only announcement I had.
Ty, you should be able to unmute yourself at this point.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm just joining on, so I'm not too sure what Stephanie had just mentioned, but I did want to take a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Taya Billa. I currently serve as the Wards 1 and 4 Community Engagement Specialist with DDOT. Previously, I served as the Ward 2 Manager with Mokers, so I'm very familiar just with the ties and connections with the commissioners, stakeholders, and community in itself. So I'm happy to help, happy to serve. If there's an opportunity, maybe where I can drop my information in the chat and that could be shared with the guests, I would love to do that. Any DDOT related issues or concerns that you all have, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will do my best to service and assist you all. Please be patient with me as well, as I just started this role a few weeks ago. So I'm still getting acclimated and learning about all the different projects and different scenarios that are going on. Excuse me, but happy to help and also open to do any walkthroughs that you all may have within the coming weeks or months that would be applicable to DDOT. So yes, as mentioned, happy to be here and happy to help, and love to drop my contact information for those who may want to reach out to me.
All right, thank you, Ty. Feel free to drop it in the chat and we can make sure it gets to everyone.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Commissioners, moving over to you. Any announcements or comments for the public? Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, so Georgia Avenue Thrive is having a Parkview trash cleanup Saturday, March 7th at 11 a.m. It's happening at Doubles. It's also sponsored by Doubles, and they will have some supplies available. Just feel free to bring your own trash grabber, and just join the Georgia Avenue Thrive group. I think that we send out some information and newsletter on some activities and ways to get yourself involved and sign up. Yeah, just join up and support, and have a great cleanup day. It's happening in Parkview on March the 7th at 11 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Appreciate it. Any other commissioners with announcements? All right. Any community members with announcements? If so, please raise your hand. All right. I don't see any community members with their hands raised. So we will move forward. We will now move on to official business, which has been organized into our standing committees, and an additional presentation from Secretary Brad Howard, who put together our storm response survey. Official business is limited to 5 minutes per presentation, followed by questions from the commission and audience until we have an official vote by the ANC for those resolutions. I will move over to Commissioner Howard to present the results of ANC 1E's storm response survey.
Thank you. We want to see if I can share my screen here. Alrighty, can y'all see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, and then I am going to drop into the chat here. I get back to the meeting. Drop into the chat. If somebody can send it around to everyone. That way people can follow along if they want, if they can't see the screen. I can't paste for some reason. Anyway, so we did a ANC 1E storm response survey conducted February 4th through February 20th, 2026. We collected 55 responses from all three neighborhoods, Parkview, Pleasant Plains, and Howard University. We looked at what worked, what failed, where it failed, and who it impacted. all 55 respondents described themselves as residents because we gave people the choice between residents and businesses. Quick breakdown of the demographics: 85% were from Parkview, 13% from Pleasant Plains, 2% in the Howard U area. Not going to brag, ANC 1001, woohoo. Most responses, but you can see here they kind of broke down. We got a sampling of all the different ANCs here, the SMDs. Got a good variation of street type here. About 24 were neighborhood streets, which is like Harvard, Irving, Park Place. The small residential streets, like 23, and then the major streets like Georgia, Sherman, New Hampshire, 8. So this was the satisfaction ratings. Here you'll see kind of the breakdown here is on an average of 1 to 5. For the speed of snow removal, not very good, about an average rating of 2. I won't go through all of these, but what I'll say is that main roads were the only category to even get close to neutral. And so I think that was reflective of the city having the plows to do the major roads, but not the plows to do the snowcrete in the city streets. No shocker there. Snowcrete removal was the single lowest item rated in the entire survey. Again, no surprise. The reason for that street rating here, every respondent who answered this question identified at least one problem. No one said no major problems. But the biggest problems were the plows were pushing snow onto the sidewalks of the corners. The plow left very narrow lanes and the blocked parking. The street was not plowed for multiple days. The compacted ice or snowcrete remained far too long. Some of the top issues there. In terms of walking, again, low ratings here. The city's clearing crosswalks and street corners appears to be a consistent theme and big problem. The city's clearing of bus stops was a little more positive, but still, pretty negative. Residents and businesses clearing their own sidewalks, got about a pretty high mark compared to the rest of the survey. So I think it seems like most folks tried to do their best. We asked the question. I know a lot of folks were asking questions about seniors and people with disabilities. How are they able to clean their own sidewalks? What does the city do? There's a snow volunteer effort for those that are able and would like to help folks who can't clear their sidewalks or their driveways, or excuse me, the walkways. You can do that, but that's all the city really does is organize volunteer efforts. So we were asking, should the city do more? About 60% of folks, well, altogether 95% of respondents believe the city should do more, or they're either unaware of existing programs. And so I think a combination of not doing enough and not doing enough communications and awareness was a problem. So folks didn't know that help existed, the volunteer help that was there. And then even if they knew that, they thought we should have more. So we asked, what kind of help are you thinking that you would support? Most folks here, leading contender was having city crews clear sidewalks for registered elderly and disabled residents, increasing fines, better promote existing assistance programs, partner with community organizations to coordinate neighbor help. Snow Team Heroes up there as well. A couple write-ins, including temporary labor, tool distribution. We're going to publish all these write-ins and stuff when we send these to the city agencies. I brought this up with the mayor's office, but city communications here, as you can see, this was just what they thought overall of how the city was communicating its cleanup effort. Not great. 80% said either very dissatisfied or dissatisfied. Here were some here were some of the responses. Like until this past Monday, there was little communication, what was being done. There was virtually no communication about how to prepare for the features of this storm. So I think that was an interesting element. A lot of confusion around school closure expectations. The snowplow map, which wasn't accurate, was kind of all the information this person was getting. A good compliment here to the council member's office, who came in. And then some people said they heard nothing for a week. In terms of the snowplow tracking tools, about half the group used them. And of that half, it was not a good experience. Almost all of them were either very dissatisfied or dissatisfied. Comments were here where it was completely inaccurate. The plow tracker was, was not navigable. It was fake. It was a joke. So big criticisms there. I think this is something that we should really look into. We do that. We asked about 311. About a quarter of the folks actually called 311. 86% of them were either very dissatisfied or dissatisfied. Some of the reasons were the request being closed without the problem being fixed. I think to Stephanie's point, probably due to the misunderstanding, though I'm still confused on that. And then difficult to find the right category. Some might have mentioned long wait lines, etc. Luckily, no one lost, except one person lost power. So it was not a significant issue during this particular storm. For those Parkview residents who had issues with power outages, that was refreshing to hear. Another big problem, a lot of folks expressed interest, and I think this is a shock to nobody, was the trash and recycling restoration and pickup. 67% of respondents rated trash and recycling restoration as very dissatisfied or dissatisfied. Some of the comments were placing the responsibility for clearing alleys is unreasonable, and the city has not attempted to collect trash in our area. They need to come up with a solution for stuff like this. Not picking up trash is not an option. Bus service probably got the best performance of any category. So this, I think it's because buses are probably on the major thoroughfares, which were cleaned early. So I suspect that's probably what some of this was. But it was the best performing service category, which still only a score of 3.17. But several respondents credited WMATA operators directly, saying the bus drivers were amazing for what they were dealing with. So that was cool to hear. However, uncleared bus stops remained a barrier for pedestrians. I think when the snow got thrown over and froze, some bus stops were like completely inaccessible. And that was the big problem there. What caused you the most trouble? We just kind of threw that open-ended question out. The blocked crosswalks and street corners. I think because the plows were coming through and they were throwing the snow on the street corners and the crosswalk entrances, which is the city's responsibility to clean, not residents. And so that probably just made the bad situation already worse. Snow creep, obviously, which was a kind of a complex issue here. Incomplete snow removal service disruptions. You can see it there. What should be the city's top priority? The crosswalks and street corners comes up again here. Plowing the streets faster, plowing the streets more thoroughly, etc. And then this was just, we tried to push out some information we had on our social media accounts, knowing that we're all part-time folks here. But looks like the folks that did get our communications found them, about 2 to 1 helpful. So that was good to hear. And then we left it kind of open-ended, what would be most helpful. Well, not open-ended, but we gave them some options and they ranked them. And so pretty much everybody agreed with all of these. So none really stuck out as a leader of the pack here. Everybody kind of liked all of these, ranked them in different ways. They kind of broke even. And so elevating 311 flag, by this was to us, the ANC commissioners, what we could do to be helpful. So elevating requests, pushing the city harder, publicly calling out the city for failures to deliver, pushing out more information, organizing forums after the response, organizing neighbors to help each other when city services fail, and explaining what the city's snow priorities mean for neighborhoods specifically. And I think this gets to our resolution here later today. Most folks got their information from news media and social media and neighbors. And then these were just some of the samplings here. We left to open in response at the end. Again, sidewalk clearing enforcement, snow removal technique, response time. And one person mentioned the use of metro stops and existing rec centers as distribution points for tools like shovels and picks and salt would be good. And provide those tools before the storm, so folks have them, was a recommendation. I know there's some of that tied to the volunteer effort, but they were kind of saying put them more throughout the community, easier to pick up so you don't have to walk so far or drive to get them. And then, so there's a key findings here. I'll let people read for themselves later. And then there's some outstanding issues, individual casework that came in we took care of. Any questions from my fellow commissioners?
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Howard. This was amazing work, very comprehensive, and I commend you for all of your hard work on the survey and then pushing it out to the community and getting the responses that you have. This is very informative. Just one comment on or question really on distribution. Some of us are on different listservs and Facebook groups. Do you have that captured like from your SMD commissioners, or was this solely through the newsletter? And then two, I think that this gives us a good advocacy tool. This is just a comment to advocate to DPW because I think that they know that some breakdowns happen, not only one with the service, but also with the communication. Um, I'm sure they're aware that their lack of communication just made some miscommunication and clarity and breakdowns in terms of what was happening in the community and what people were experiencing city-wise. And then secondly, I think that like we just should have started earlier. I understand the snow combined with the ice and the rain added on top of the problematic weather conditions and what was happening in the streets and DBW's ability to clean it up at it expeditiously. However, I just think that other cities that have like a combination of snow, rain, hail, sleet, snow, ice, they do it better because they just plan and they start earlier. And I think budget wise, we were going through a lot and maybe we didn't have the right trucks out, but we could have prepared better. So I think that this survey is helpful in identifying some of the concrete and comprehensive feedback that we have from the community. And Stephanie, since you're on the line, I would love to hear your feedback after the commissioners kind of weigh in and the community weighs in on the survey. And hopefully, like when we have another storm like this, that we can help inform a better process the next go round, because people just miss doctor's appointments, services, they missed work because of this, and we could have done better. Thanks.
Yeah, and to your point about how we distributed, obviously it was through the newsletter, through social media, X, Blue Sky. I pushed. I think a couple of us put it in the Parkview Facebook group, which is pretty active, as we all know. I think that was part of the reason you saw the like Parkview numbers really high. And so, and again, I think it was meant to be kind of a representative sample here. But I was pleased with, I mean, every S&D, had a showing here. So, I think, that worked out well. I think as our list grows and as we do more stuff like this, hopefully people will engage more and we'll have more response here. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words.
Commissioner Grant?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, Brad, I'd like to echo Commissioner Brown's comment. Great work on this. I'm a survey researcher, actually, so really
I'm very
happy
intimidated right now. So
happy to see this. This is great, and I also see really good representation from my SMD as well. So, thanks to my constituents for responding. But I know Commissioner Brown had a question directed to Stephanie, but I also wanted to thank Stephanie before you respond for your work during this crisis. I remember being on the phone with you, identifying hotspots and problem areas. And I remember you saying, I'm on the road, I'm in the middle of this street, I'm headed in that direction, just left that street. I know you were out there in the trenches every day, probably getting your car stuck. So I really thank you for being the eyes and ears on the ground during the storm. And with that, I'll let you answer Commissioner Brown's question.
Stephanie, if you want to speak, you should have the ability to now.
Yes, I can hear. I'm sorry. Can you give me the question again? And thank you again I do appreciate the feedback, and I do thank you. I know we were out there, not just myself, my team throughout all 8 wards, but we do want to make sure that we are out here getting all the concerns and issues from each angle that was around, because we do appreciate everyone's feedback and concerns. We do listen and we do hear, and we do report everything. in real time. So, but thank you so much. And in regards to the question, can I get the question again one more time?
Commissioner Brown, do you remember?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
do you remember your question?
It wasn't really a question. It was just a comment just to kind of like
Oh.
make sure that you get this copy and then capture all of the data and anecdotal information, the comments and the feedback that was included in the survey, and just raise that up to DPW and your leadership so that things could be prepared differently. I've just been involved in like multiple snowpocalypses in this city, and I think that we could have like just started and planned earlier, and at least like, you know, just took our budget and like shifted in ways where we could have had like different trucks out there. And I know how it is with government and contracts and things like that, but other cities prepare and plan for things like this, and hopefully you can just shed some light and share this with leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will share that. If Commissioner can send that survey over, I will gladly share this tomorrow while I'm going to be in the office with leadership, and also just go over what we spoke about today with the team, and then also just share the awareness.
Will do. We'll send it to you in official communications.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Howard, maybe it makes sense to attach this to the other DPW resolution.
Yeah, I was going to offer some way to integrate it into the whereas clauses, but ran out of time. So.
Fair. I see there's a question in the Q&A. For snow removal, can we identify agencies that are responsible? By what methods can we hold agencies accountable and push the executive to improve response? So generally for snow removal, that's going to be DPW for the main roads, and then DGS, DPR for different properties. I think a potentially good exercise for next time would be to work on key properties in the area and identify who is actually responsible for clearing those. Because around schools, it's going to be DGS, but you know, in front of someone's home, it's going to be the homeowner, right? And in terms of holding them accountable, best thing to do is to attend oversight hearings and testify there and give your feedback, and you know, bring up any feedback that you have to us. And you know, if there is something that makes sense or a resolution, then we can consider a resolution around that, like we will be tonight.
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. I also want to mention that DDOT is also there. I guess they're responsible for the bike lanes and the bus lanes when it comes to the snow. And as you mentioned, DGS for government agencies and schools, as well as DPW for overall the cities and residents for their sidewalks, and business owners as well for their sidewalks. And yeah, so that's pretty much clear.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Howard, for putting together the survey. Really appreciate it.
We'll make this available online for folks. When you go to the website, this will be up later today. I don't know, in the news section, so just look for that.
Sounds good. And were there any other questions from members of the public or commissioners?
Oh, I'm sorry. I also wanted to mention national parks and federal areas. That's for federal agencies that they do take care of that, just in case kind of missed that, because there were some triangle parts that didn't get cleared. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right. Moving on then. Again, thank you, Commissioner Howard, for putting that together. I will share my screen once again. You should be seeing my screen, and on the officer and committee reports, can someone validate that?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Great, thank you. Up next, we have Transportation and Public Space Committee. chaired by Miss Ali Batal. I don't think she was able to make it tonight. Please raise your hand if that is not the case and you are here. But the TPS committee met earlier this month to get a presentation about the Rock and Roll Half Marathon. As Commissioner Brown had mentioned, this is something that we've supported many times over the years as a body. I was just going to do a quick overview of the course for folks who might not be aware. I'm realizing it's hard to zoom in on this image. Let me try just doing this. I don't think it made it any better, but on the northern end of 1E, the northern portion of the half marathon will go through Harvard. It'll cross Georgia at a portion, come down, I believe this is 6th, and go back out. And I will just allow Diane Romo Thomas to speak if there's anything else that she wants to mention in terms of impact. Diane, you are unmuted, are able to speak now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, briefly, this is the 17th year we've been running in the city for this event. It is the most important thing. It's Saturday, March 21st. It's a Saturday morning event, starts down at the National Mall and wraps, the half marathon wraps around the city as you saw by that map. You guys are impacted in this ANC along Harvard. They're going to turn right around Drew Hall and go down 5th. 5th turns into 4th, then they're going to exit out on Bryant Street going eastbound on Bryant. There is a stage with some music at the corner of Harvard. When they come down the hill on Harvard and they make that right turn onto 5th, there's a band stage that faces out toward the reservoir. We haven't had much calls from the community as far as it's too loud. I think it's the way they project the music that it's not too evasive to homeowners, residents in that area. I think that's it. There's no other bands along Harvard Street. That's the first one they see along Harvard. And then we've also, this is my ANC home, my work home. This is my ANC for my work. I work at Howard. So they're notified as well about the street closure along 5th and 4th. You're going to see about 15,000 runners coming through. It'll be mile 9 that you see these guys coming through at a pretty good pace. Street closures are controlled by MPD and the openings. The race starts at 8 a.m., so you'll probably see the faster group come through here at about 8:30. They'll start closing the streets about 8 to make sure there's nothing blocking the streets. You'll see the first one about 8:30, and the last one will be usually before noon. MPD opens all those streets. It's rolling openings, so as soon as that last runner goes through, that they will, clean up any mess, cops, anything that's on the street, and then they will open it back up when it is safe. So that's in a nutshell. We do put up the no parking signs along Harvard and 4th, which not too many park there anyway because there's bike lanes and then there's reservoirs, so it's not too impactful along 4th and 5th until you get down by the Howard dorms. We will put the 22 by 22 course signs up the Saturday before, which is March 14th, to make sure you guys remind that it's coming through. And then we'll take them down that day. So you shouldn't see any lingering signs. Again, it's my work ANC, so anything that's left behind, I'll make sure that it gets taken, down or picked up. All the detours, for those of you guys trying to move around, March 21st, they're all uploaded into Waze and Google Maps. So if you're trying to get around other side of Harvard Street, maybe, it'll let you know, how you can proceed north and get around that race closure. Rhode Island Avenue's open all day. New York Avenue's open all day. Northbound, North Capitol Street's open. So there's some Massachusetts, if you have to get northbound, that's open all day, unimpacted by the event as well. But everything wraps up about 12:30 in the afternoon down by the National Mall.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Brown, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you so much for being such a great partner. I just remember you being a longstanding person who came to our ANC 1A meetings, and we continuously supported the Rock and Roll Marathon because you just did such a great and thorough job of outreach to both residents and the neighboring businesses. And I just wanted to make sure that you are able to speak about some of the outreach that you've done to just flyer the community and the residential areas to let them know that Rock and Roll Marathon is coming. Work with the local businesses. I see Lower Georgia Avenue Main Street's director, program managers here in the audience, and just wanted to make sure that you share a little bit with the public about what the Rock and Roll Marathon has done to engage local businesses who might be impacted. And just give a shout out to Audra Grant because I've been repeatedly um, cheering her on during the Rock and Roll Marathon when she's
When I'm running.
when she's been running, and she's been, a champion of the Rock and Roll Marathon. So I just wanted to let you know that there are community members, not me. I'm the girl that's like cheering people on and like holding up the signs. I'm not going to run, but
I was hand
there
out
are
mimosas.
community members here in the family who are runners.
I like to hand out mimosas, so whatever you run by, just
I should find you.
I'll join you, Brad.
And I will say the area by Harvard where they come in 6th Street, there's the percussion band. And it's considered one of the best in the race, if not the best in the race. So it's a great spot to be at.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. We get a lot of feedback from, we used to call it Bison Bend.
Yes.
When I'm with the event, I've been with the event. This is probably my 14th or 15th year attending about this event. So yeah, it used to be Bison Bend, a lot of energy. This whole area gets good feedback as far as the energy and the support. There's some
Yes.
activation stations that are going to be down closer to College and Fourth. And when I say activation, it's like, I think it's Gatorade or one of the gels that they set up like tents and they hand out gels. So that's kind of down a little further down the road there. But also Bryant Street gets a really good, Bloomingdale area gives a really good, support and participation with our runners coming through there as well. So, and to speak about the local bands, there are bands, it's called the Rock and Roll, obviously. So there's bands throughout, the 13 miles. Those are also listed locally, bands, and I believe they're paid. So I know that outreach has gone out to local entertainment groups that they've engaged. And I don't I don't know a lot of information about the local business engagement, but there's anyone out there, my course director, Keith Allen, would be the one that would have more information about their outreach for local businesses and how we can involve them in the event and how they can contribute to event day as well. So, if you have any names or anybody, happy to reach out to them.
Great. It's Alice Burt. She's in this meeting, and we'll reach out to you, make sure that you're connected, because usually you guys are connected to Lower Georgia Avenue Main Streets and other Main Streets programs that are impacted, where the businesses are impacted in those boundaries.
Yes. I have her name, so I'll kind of look her up and try to connect with her.
I can also connect you after the meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will now accept a motion to adopt the letter.
Motion to adopt the letter with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent? Hearing no dissent, the letter is adopted. Thank you so much, Diane, for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate your partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you all, commissioners. Appreciate it.
All right, moving back to the agenda. The Transportation and Public Space Committee's next meeting will be on Wednesday, March 4th at 7 p.m. The next item on the agenda is for the Zoning and Economic Development Committee. I think I see, Dimitri McDaniel in the audience. I'll go ahead and maybe someone already promoted you. Okay, great. Dimitri, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great.
I wasn't sure if I was going to get called up, so I didn't put a good shirt on.
It's all good. You can just do a quick pitch on your committee, anything that you did in February, and any plans for March.
Sure. The main topic was the Georgia Avenue Small Business Roundtable, some follow-up discussion, and establishing a small committee to really discuss how we're going to collect data and some feedback from local folks on Georgia Avenue, Lower Georgia Avenue. So I think that was the main key piece. It looks like we have two possible BZA cases or two items of official business before the committee for March 11th. So if folks can attend that meeting on Wednesday, that would be appreciated. Commissioner Footer, anything I missed?
No, but I did want to just ask Commissioner Grant. I saw in the Q&A that there was a question about
Yes.
a liquor license that it was recently. Do you mind elaborating?
No, somebody in the audience had a question about the status of the settlement agreement, I believe with Hook Hall. So if that person is in the audience, perhaps this is a good time for them to ask that question.
Well, and I think that your response is perfect. I'm just asking more of do you know, like, do you need to refer that to the committee? Is the commissioner whose
Yes,
SMD is it in?
yes, I do. Yeah, I don't have any information on it.
Got it. Do you know whose SMD it's in?
I think it's Commissioner Hawker. Maybe. It's on the other side of Georgia, so that would be Commissioner Hawker.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
true.
Yes.
But I thought it was something the committee was dealing with. That's why I put it reference that.
Yeah, just point of clarification. So when those things come up, it typically is the lead SMD or impacted SMD to take the lead on it, and to one avenue is to take it through the committee. Committee for liquor licenses would be the Zoning and Economic Development Committee. So you're absolutely right. The commissioner's not here today, so Mr. Chairman or Madam Vice Chair, if you guys want to relay that information to the appropriate commissioner and then have it forwarded to the committee. We meet on March 11th. That would be a good avenue to do it.
Yep, I agree with that. Um,
Is that going to get shared with me as I update the agenda?
Oh, yes. Everything should go through you. You're the chair.
Okay. Thank you.
and I believe the person lowered their hand. Yeah, you can just email me, and I can get you connected with Commissioner Hawker if you don't already have her contact information.
Right. Yeah. That was Tim Kreutzfeldt, I believe. That's the question.
And I'm just going to drop my email in the chat. And then Mr. McDaniel, the only other note is that OP asked about doing a presentation on DC, I think they call it DC 2050 for the comprehensive plan rewrite. So I'll make sure that they get connected with you if they're not already.
Yeah, I saw the email thread, but I did not follow up on that.
Okay. Any other things to note with your committee?
Nothing else for me.
All right. Well, thank you for leading the committee, and looking forward to continuing to work with you on this.
Likewise. Thanks.
And for folks who didn't hear, that next meeting is Wednesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. Up next, we have Public Safety and Engagement Committee. Commissioner Newland was unable to make it tonight and shared that there weren't any additional updates. So we can probably move on, but the next meeting for that committee is Monday, March 9th at 7 p.m. All right, moving further into other business, and I'm just gonna make sure we update the panelists quick. Up next, we have a slew of resolutions that did not fit under one of the existing committees or came in after some of the committee discussions. Up first, we have a resolution establishing a special committee on Georgia Avenue economic development. So this is coming out of and 5 minutes for each of these. So I'm going to, please keep me honest if I don't stick to 5 minutes. But this is coming out of some of the discussions with the businesses. This is just defining the parameters of the special committee. So special committees are not permanent by nature. They exist to work on a specific problem set, and then will eventually disband unless we decide to continue that committee. Whereas the other committees that we had just discussed are ongoing and will stay in existence for the foreseeable future. I am realizing I forgot to fill in this particular section here, but I will update that and just say ANC bylaws. So this is just to mention we want to help the businesses along the Georgia Avenue corridor. We've noticed persistent commercial vacancies, challenges with foot traffic, and underutilization relative to other corridors in the district. We think that revitalizing the corridor is going to require coordination among residents, business owners, property owners, and district agencies and other stakeholders. And so then this section is to establish the actual committee. So the purpose of the committee will be to study economic conditions, commercial vacancy trends, pedestrian activity, and business needs along the Georgia Avenue corridor, identify evidence-based strategies to reduce commercial vacancies, increase foot traffic and evening activity, and support small business stability and growth. Develop policy and budgets recommendations for consideration by the full commission, and engage with corridor stakeholders, including residents, business owners, property owners, and relevant district agencies. Membership will be appointed by majority vote. The committee chairs or co-chairs will be appointed by a majority vote of our commission, and they must be a resident of 1E. And then those chairs will determine the composition of the committee, subject to modification by a majority vote of the commission. And this is just calling out that non-resident business owners and other stakeholders may participate as advisory participants, but they will not be able to be formal committee members, as that is not allowed by 1E rules as it is written today. And this is just dissolving the committee after a year unless we decide to renew the committee next year. Questions, comments? I don't know who raised their hand first. I'm going to go with Commissioner Footer because he's first in the list for me.
Thank you. First, I just want to say thank you for, I started this entire thing by trying to get the roundtable of small businesses on Georgia Avenue together. We had a really good conversation, so I want to thank you for taking the ball and running with it. This is fantastic. It's a great idea to have a special committee that will, be dedicated to really going through this. My question is, can you elaborate on what some of the information that you provided for me a couple of weeks ago when we talked about this, on what is the coordination that you are anticipating will be with the council member's office, and why is that important for this being successful?
Thank you, Commissioner Footer. Yes, so I've been talking to a few different staff members in Councilmember Nadeau's office. There is some appetite from Councilmember Nadeau and from Councilmember Janice Lewis-George to have something in the budget to help with Georgia Avenue. It isn't clear exactly what that would look like, but we want to get this committee up and running so that we can help them hash through some of those ideas and figure out something that might be able to make it in before Councilmember Nadeau leaves office. So this committee will help work through some of the recommendations that they have, help them understand like what the different stakeholders are looking for, and help with some of that process.
And I wanted to just ask you to elaborate on that, because for the public, that is such a huge victory that this ANC should be very proud of. The fact that we have been able to get initial buy-in from two council members' office to try and reinvest or invest in Georgia Avenue. And so we're starting off on an extremely great foot. And I think that you guys are doing a tremendous job in putting this together in a very collaborative way. So like, just kudos. This is fantastic.
Thank you, Commissioner Footer. I appreciate it. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I just wanted to kind of backtrack into a little bit of history here with when we were ANC 1A. We were very active in the Georgia Avenue Community Development Task Force, which had monthly meetings, and it had an annual community review that collected data, collected information, and did surveys that gathered community feedback, particularly on community development, affordable housing, and small business development types of activities. So I think that in light of Sylvia Robinson no longer being here, And then with Romeo and the Georgia Avenue Business Alliance and all the work that he did, hopefully that there's some type of community engagement that can really build upon that great work and engagement in the businesses that are on Georgia Avenue, but also the residents to be involved in this work. So that was just a lot of work that happened before us, and I want to recognize that, and hopefully we can get that type of engagement with this particular committee. I also just wanted to put out there just to see if like moving forward after we make the pass a resolution, if it passes, and then we make an amendment to the bylaws, that procedurally we will also develop some SOPs around this because we usually have SOPs for our committees. So is that going to be a next step? So that's just a question of mine. And then also I just wanted to um, make sure that we acknowledge some of the work that started right before COVID and then didn't finish from both council member Janice Lewis George and Brianna Doe's office. So Janice Lewis George had her team had collected survey data in Ward 4 on Georgia Avenue and the things that they wanted to see, especially around vacant properties and small businesses. So, what type of coordination can that data, if we have access to it, have to inform the work of this committee, as well as the equity plan work that Brianna Doe's office did? And I don't know where that's going or if it's going to continue. But I would like to make sure that like that type of information we have access to inform some of the work that we're doing here. In addition to the comprehensive plan, which is going to be so critical to Lower Georgia Avenue. And I want our commission to get a lot of engagement around that. So we just have a lot of moving parts, and I'm just hoping that we all kind of come together and take like what work has been done from the past, what data we can have access to, and then like capture that and then talk about that as a committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. So you laid out a lot of really good points there. There's a lot of work that has been done previously, and I think that this is going to mean at the end of the day that this committee might be a little bit more of a work focused committee than some of our other committees where the expectations are going to be a little bit higher because we need folks that can actually help us do some of the research and help us work on things outside of meetings. And that's not to say that the other committees aren't doing great work, but the expectations are just inherently a little bit different because, for the Transportation and Public Space Committee, you don't necessarily have to do work in between meetings. You can just show up and, listen to a presentation on public spaces and vote on it. And there aren't necessarily higher expectations. But for this, we are going to need people that can help with data analysis. We're going to need people that can help do some of the research and find things that might have been done before to help inform the work that we're doing. I don't want to scare people away from it, but I just want to make sure that people know that it's not going to be an easy task. And so we need as much help as we can get from the community and as much help from the people that have us.
Yeah, I'm happy to support and happy to make sure that ANCs that we have a relationship still with are involved in this to get that past information to help inform the work that we can continue. And in the past, we called it task forces. Like we amended bylaws to amend SOPs to have a task force. To me, it can be one and the same. It could still be a committee, just as long as folks are committed and willing to do the work.
Definitely hear that. And in terms of SOPs, if you have any suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. I think our bylaws do have a good enough framework, but if there's some more specificity that you'd like to see, then we can work on that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, I'll now accept a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move by
I move to
unanimous
adopt the
consent to Sorry, Brian.
No, go right ahead.
Go for it. To establish a special committee on Georgia Avenue economic development.
All right. Thank you for that motion, Commissioner Grant. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted and the committee now exists. The next step is a chair election for the committee that we just established. So,
Chair,
did I forget to? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to make nomination. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. I was going to say, as with any of our chair elections for special committees, we are opening the floor to nominations. They just have to be either a commissioner or a member of the public that lives in 1E.
I'd like to nominate two people to co-host or co-chair, excuse me, Commissioner Josh Jacobson and Commissioner Audra Grant.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Footer. There's a nomination for Commissioner Grant and myself. Are there any other nominations? All right. Seeing no other nominations, by acclamation of the commission, the co-chairs of the Georgia Avenue Economic Development Special Committee will be Commissioner Grant and myself. Thank you to the committee for supporting this endeavor, or to the commission for supporting this endeavor. Up next, we have a resolution on snow emergency service equity, public communication, and pedestrian access. So this is something that I had written with feedback from a couple other folks and community members in my SMD. So I'll give the high level here. A lot of the whereas is just recognizing some of the challenges that existed within ANC 1E and other parts of the district in terms of seeing service equity, in terms of getting communication around trash pickup, and in terms of accessing crosswalks and things of that nature. So I'll just slowly scroll through this so folks can read it. Am I zoomed in enough? Okay. I'm going to go slowly, but if you need me to stop, just let me know. Any questions or comments on the whereas clauses before we get into the resolved portions, which I think are where the meat of the matter is, so to speak? Okay. So for the resolve clauses, there are quite a few. A lot of options to help DPW make some improvements here. So the first one is to develop and publish emergency service rotation protocols to ensure that when staffing or weather constraints prevent full service restoration, routes are rotated equitably to avoid concentrated multi-week service gaps in specific neighborhoods. So like I mentioned, I know that some of us didn't receive trash pickup for a month. Others had trash pickup on a regular basis. Likely some opportunity to have emergency pickup where instead of some folks getting it twice a week, splits and does once a week for a particular route and once a week for another route. Improve communications during these emergencies, such as using qualified language in public status reports where appropriate, establishing a formalized feedback mechanism for correcting inaccurate route status communications, and exploring development of a real-time public route status dashboard for trash, recycling, and snow operations. So this is coming from some issues I saw and some constituents saw where DPW would say, your alley is plowed, the alley wasn't plowed. You try to correct them, and they never really acknowledged it, which led to more mistrust and concern that an alley would never be plowed, and we'd have to wait for the snow to melt before trash would be picked up. Third one is review and clarify enforcement policies for sidewalk snow removal to ensure that categorical waivers are not applied in a manner that undermines compliance incentives while maintaining appropriate hardship accommodations. So part of the challenge that I noticed is that there were portions that were left unshoveled for weeks at a time that really shouldn't have been. And it took just volunteers going out and shoveling, and it wasn't necessarily someone had some sort of hardship. It was more that someone just forgot to shovel. And by having a waiver saying that, you're not going to get fined for not shoveling, that means that everyone understands that they're not going to get fined for not shoveling, which then reduces the incentive for someone to actually do the shoveling, because a lot of people don't like shoveling. So just want to reiterate that waivers do not necessarily help us. Develop protocols to prevent snow berms from blocking crosswalk entrances and prioritize clearing of crosswalk access points as part of emergency response. So I did this with some of my community members. We just shoveled the crosswalks in our area. I think other people would volunteer if there was just more of an effort from the city to try to get volunteers for those sorts of things. For bulk service or for bulk pickup, if it's suspended during an emergency, temporarily disable that through own request, because otherwise folks will put in the request, put their item outside, and then just sits there and causes more litter to pile up. The sixth one is creating a public-facing resource that allows everyone to see which routes are delayed. If such a resource is too time-consuming to implement, publish the route names and their paths on a publicly available resource, such as Open Data DC. So I've heard from DPW that they do have electronic routes, so this latter portion should be a little bit more feasible. Deploy district government resources to areas of 1E that experience multi-week service gaps, including targeted street sweeping operations on affected routes, bulk waste and litter removal crews deployed to alleys and residential blocks where accumulation persists, and a defined timeline and completion standard for restoring affected areas to pre-emergency baseline. So these are just recognizing that a lot of these alleys are now filled with trash, and it's going to take a long time for them to get cleaned up, even if DPW is back on regular trash cleanup. And the last piece is just asking for a written response on some of their current policies. So I know there was a lot to get to. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Foote, I know that you had a comment on just the formatting. I started doing a bunch of different therefore be it resolves, and I realized it just reads a little funny, so I just thought it'd be easier to read if we threw it all into one section.
Oh, and I think honestly, we can do it however we want. It does look different from how we've done it in the past. Just like the last whereas clause typically says therefore, and then each clause says be it resolved. But I think it's preference. Like you're chair now, so however you would like to kind of set the tone for it.
That reads better.
And then after, in the next section, if you go down to your last number there, and C, just say furthermore, just instead of a period, but furthermore.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I think that's
it. Commissioner Howard?
Yeah, this is really good, Commissioner Jacobson. A lot of work and very detailed stuff here. I was going to ask one question and then offer one friendly amendment. The question, it seems to me what I was reading and seeing the news is that the plows that work the avenues are too big to go on the arterial streets. And so what they typically have done is basically have a big pickup truck with like a big shovel out front to clear the smaller streets, but the snowcrete concept or it was damaging, like it was just ripping off the snow plow, whatever they attached to the front of it. So they don't have the equipment. So if this happened again, we'd have the same problem because they just don't have the equipment to do it. I don't know if that's like taken into account here. Like I think a study of some sort would be an interesting thing to do. To look into specifically that, do we have the assets needed to treat snowcrete in the future? Or studies or techniques. Or if that's relevant. I don't know if that's relevant.
No, I think it's a great thing to ask about. I don't know how exactly to frame it right now. If you have an idea, great. If not, we can always do another resolution in March.
Let's be clear. I don't have an idea.
Okay.
Totally fine with that. Yeah. The friendly amendment real quick, and I'll just read it here. It's basically attaching the results we just did, but I move to amend the snow resolution, this resolution, by adding the commission's February 2025 storm survey results as Appendix A to the resolution and directing that Appendix A be attached to the approved minutes for this meeting as part of the commission's official record.
I move with unanimous consent to accept that.
Well, so I made the motion now. Just
sorry, yeah, that's fair. Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. All right. That is 5 in favor. Any opposed? And abstentions? Great. Okay. That passes 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Grant?
Yeah, I was just going to say in reference to Commissioner Howard's comment about equipment not being equipped to deal with snowcrete. I grew up in a cold weather climate, Wisconsin. It doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because plow trucks are out continuously shoveling snow during storms, so they don't turn the ice. So you don't have to shovel and plow ice. And so if the snow is, it goes back to method and technique. If it's done regularly during a storm, you won't have an issue with having the right or wrong kinds of pack.
If you're willing to put it in here as a friendly amendment, is calling on the government to do an economic benefit analysis to determine how much actually was lost from the government shutting down, from schools being closed, from businesses being closed, from daycare centers being closed. And let's see if that the amount of money that was lost equals the amount of money it would require the city to actually furnish the appropriate infrastructure to handle this. And so, I think that everybody's frustration is valid and should be directed at the right place, which is that the government made a decision not to invest in this. So that's just my 2 cents.
A great point.
Because you're right, Commissioner Grant. My husband is from Minnesota, and he just is sitting there laughing as we watch these buses basically try to take a turn, can't move, and then when they have to have a tractor come and like pull it out, it's like they're moving one pile of snow from one area to the middle of a lane and just making it more difficult for another. Like people just don't know what they're doing. It's insane.
Yeah.
I love this new mustache you, right?
Yeah.
Telling it like it is.
Yeah, Brian, your alternative personality.
Yeah.
I don't have a gavel anymore. I can let it go. I can just, hey.
Chairman Emeritus is unleashed.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Do you know who to direct that to? Because I don't know that DPW would do that.
I don't. I guess it would be the
VDOT?
maybe. It would probably
Wait, are you
be
talking
higher
about
up.
the
It'd probably be
trucks? Are you talking about the trucks?
Oh,
Like, what are
no.
you talking about?
well, just like a
The study.
citywide.
No, to do the
yeah,
study.
like it'd probably be DIMPED. to do
I
some
think
sort
this
of
is something to bring up during like budget and performance oversight.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like this resolution and whatever, if we miss performance oversight, like budget hearing, like I just think that this should be attached to some kind of like the cluster of folks that are under public works and operations. Just an
I
aside.
Yeah. How about something like be resolved that I do not like typing on the fly, that ANC 1E requests that DPW, DEMPED, or any other relevant agency performs a study to understand the economic impact and loss from snowstorms such as the one that occurred in, was it it was January.
Mhm.
Okay. Does that sound good? I make a motion with unanimous consent that we adopt that clause, or we amend this resolution to adopt that clause. Is there any dissent?
I'll second.
Love it.
Cool. No dissent. We're adding that in. Any other discussion, questions, comments about this resolution?
We have a question in the box in the
Oh, thank you.
Q&A.
Kenneth asked, can other agencies that are involved in snow removal also get a similar resolution? This can happen later, but I would also like to ask other agencies to tell us their plans. Yeah, we can ask other agencies. They don't have as big of an impact as DPW, but I think that's a fair follow-up that we can take on. Thank you for the question.
I call the question. Move to previous question. Seeing this.
Sorry, did you say you want to make a motion on this?
I just move to previous question, and you just that means in debate. Move to vote.
Brad, what are you?
Ready.
What to do, man?
You can do it with unanimous consent.
Yes, there's a motion to adopt the resolution. Sorry,
But it's a motion to move the previous question, which would end debate.
okay.
Then you'd have
Yeah.
to vote on adoption. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion to end debate. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And abstentions? I didn't see any. So with 5 votes in favor and 0 opposed and 0 abstentions, the motion passes and debate is ended. I will now accept a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move with unanimous consent that the resolution be adopted as amended.
Is there any dissent? All right, hearing none, the resolution is adopted as amended. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it. Up next is a resolution in support of the district's recognition of Caribbean American Heritage Month and encouraging Caribbean Heritage Month activation along Lower Georgia Avenue Northwest. Commissioner Howard, I recognize you because I believe you wrote this resolution. I will share my screen unless you want to.
I can do it. Make it easier on you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Backstory about how this resolution kind of came about is we were, this stems back to the meeting we had, the roundtable with local business owners. And several folks kept mentioning the Caribbean heritage that we all know that exists along Georgia Avenue, and me diving into research and talking with some other residents that there used to be, Georgia Avenue used to be home to a very large Caribbean heritage parade and celebration that kind of went away, I think, in the mid-90s. And so this is not proposing to bring that back by any means. So I thought it was important for this ANC to support the mayor's office in their efforts when they recognize Caribbean American Heritage Month. The government of DC annually recognizes the month through proclamations and public programming through the mayor's office of Caribbean Community Affairs. That Lower Georgia Avenue from Florida to New Hampshire is a principal commercial corridor within the boundaries of ANC 1E and contains a concentration of small, locally owned businesses, including Caribbean and Black-owned establishments that contribute significantly to the identity of the corridor. That it was the route and focal point of the DC Caribbean Carnival Festival from 93 to 2011, drawing large attendance and providing cultural visibility and economic activity. I think we heard back from that roundtable that foot traffic on Georgia Avenue, people aren't really coming or trying to figure out ways of encouraging that. And so where, Georgia Avenue has experienced some of the broader economic challenges common to urban commercial corridors, including shifts in retail patterns, rising operating costs, public safety concerns, long-term impacts of COVID, all of which disproportionately affect Black-owned businesses, that a corridor-based recognition would build upon our historic role here. And whereas positive family-friendly activation of a public space, suggestion, Bruce Monroe, Georgia Avenue Commercial Spine, can increase legitimate foot traffic, support economic development. So be it resolved that we express appreciation to the mayor and the council and the mayor's office for their continued recognition of Caribbean American Heritage Month. That be it resolved that we recognize Lower Georgia Avenue as an appropriate and historically grounded corridor for Caribbean American heritage. Be if they're further resolved that we encourage the mayor's office in partnership with all the district agencies to consider organizing, supporting, or partnering on Caribbean American Heritage Month programming and activation along the Lower Georgia Avenue, including family-friendly activities, cultural performances, and small business engagement. Basically, what I'm saying is they now do all of the activity and celebration of Caribbean American Heritage Month down at Freedom Plaza, right in front of City Hall. We're asking that they consider expanding some programming over to here, where it traditionally was and is, and it's probably got the highest pocket and concentration of Caribbean owned businesses and Caribbean restaurants. And there's a lot of things I think the community could do in recognition of that. It would be nice to do some kind of programming over here. I leave it very vague on purpose as baby steps. And then be further resolved that ANC expresses its willingness to collaborate with district agencies, corridors, organizations, local institutions, business groups to support any kind of activities around here. This basically is me saying hey, community, we stand ready and willing to help fund some community events. We've got these grants, please apply. And so that is, and I put my name here, but if anybody wants to volunteer for, to add their name to this, I welcome that. And the reason why I didn't put this into the consent agenda is that I got it a little late. So I don't want to spring that on you guys in the consent. So on here, if anyone wants to add their name, please let me know. I'll make the edit now. But this was it. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that, we debate this.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard. I see Commissioner Brown raised her hand.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Howard. This is excellent. As a person who lived here for 25 years, I remember attending the Georgia Avenue Day parades, and that was such a staple in this community. And I welcome the collaboration of this ANC and the mayor's office on Caribbean Affairs to help promote this day here on Georgia Avenue, if they welcome that. Bruce Monroe Park usually during the summertime has a lot of different activities going on, especially when there's issues at the park. We have so many like activities going on over the weekend and during the evenings and the weekdays. So I just kind of welcome um coordination with the mayor's office to make sure that a day like this could be included in that calendar and seeing what activities can happen at the park. There's so much that can be done. And even with Art All Night, right? Like Lower Georgia Avenue Main Streets has Art All Night. And we usually have fun during the summertime around those activities. So if there's some grants available between the collaboration between the mayor's office and Lower Georgia Avenue Main Streets to make something like this happen, I definitely welcome that. And so please add my name to it. I don't know if I can be able to be in the weeds with you with so many things going on in my life right now, but I definitely would love to idea exchange with you. And, the best way to do it is just to text me and add me on as a collaborator. It
Wow.
means just so much to our community for that to be welcomed.
Why? What do you got going on? Yeah, I thank you. I think this actually fun fact too. Every single one of us has a portion of Georgia Avenue in our SMD, which I thought was pretty cool as well. The way it's designed.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I had a lot of wild ideas about like Call Your Mother Bagel could do like a Caribbean bagel, and then St. Vincent could have a Caribbean cocktail. And we just like go crazy up and down the block, which would be kind of fun. And bringing Caribbean food trucks, but baby steps.
Love it.
I'll now accept a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion to adopt the resolution that has been seconded. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, we have 5 votes in favor, 0 nays, and 0 abstentions. So the resolution is adopted as written. Up next, we have a resolution from Commissioner Howard urging expanded voter education and neighborhood outreach on ranked choice voting ahead of the June 2026 primary. Do you want to present that one as well as Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Okay.
So my motion is to introduce this resolution on ranked choice voting. As we all know, we're going to be doing ranked choice voting for the first time, I believe, in DC history on the June primary, which I think at the time was a fairly sleepy primary. It's now turned into a very busy primary. So I would imagine a lot of folks turning out to vote, maybe many for the first time. And where I kind of started with this is just so folks know, I got this idea is there's a Board of Elections performance budget hearing coming up. So knowing I kind of have on my college campus when I was in college, I got our university onto ranked choice voting. And I remember how difficult that voter education was with just college students when you had their full attention. And so I did some research here. And so the whereas clause is essentially is that research using nearly 3 million cast votes find that it's in a typical ranked choice race, approximately 5% of voters make at least one ballot marking error, and that ballots and ranked choice votes races are more likely to include an improper mark than those that aren't, that overall ballot rejection rates remain under 1%. The research finds higher rates of ballot marking errors in areas with more racial minorities, lower income households, and lower levels of educational attainment. That implementation guidance for election administrators emphasizes that successful ranked choice voting rollout requires early and sustained voter education, clear instructions, multilingual and cultural competent outreach, and trusted community partners. So knowing that there's a lot of room for error, knowing that by the demographics, the research has showed that tend to struggle with ranked choice voting, and then combined with the fact that the best practices is early and sustained outreach. I'm a little, where this came from is a little concerned that Board of Elections, and not necessarily their fault, I believe they had a budget cut to the programming and awareness education around this, is that knowing their limitations and that they need to do more, how could ANCs be helpful? I think there's an interesting role here for us to play. So that was the impetus behind this, and to also encourage BOE to do more in the city, to fund more. So therefore be resolved, the ANC Commission urges the District of Columbia Board of Elections to expand and intensify voter education, outreach, and awareness on ranked choice voting in advance of the June primary, with particular attention to communities where ranked choice voting experience indicates higher risk of early cycle ballot error, including communities with a high share of racial and ethnic minorities, lower income neighborhoods, areas with lower levels of educational attainment, older voters, communities with limited English proficiency and significant language diversity. Be it therefore resolved that ANC 1E encourages the Board of Elections to work directly with ANCs and to support ANCs that want to help educate voters about ranked choice voting, including by providing materials, training, demonstration ballots, speakers, and other practical support consistent with the law. That authorizes, this was so I could testify that hearing, and which I've run that testimony by you guys, but authorize Commissioner Brad Howard to present the commission in the event, et cetera, et cetera. So be it therefore finally resolved that ANC 1E stands ready to coordinate with the Board of Elections and community partners to host ANC 1E educational events so that ANC 1E residents can cast a correct, confident ballot in the primary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Howard. Commissioner Footer.
Just as a note, the Board of Elections did reach out to ANC 1E to come and give a presentation on how ranked choice voting was going to work. Commissioner Jacobson, it was around the transition, and so I did forward it on to you. As chair, you have the discretion on figuring out when is best to actually accept them to their invitation and if it's worth the commission's time. So I would just be, I think you worded it okay, but I want to just put that out there that, like, if they come back and be like, we extended an invitation, you guys just didn't take it, we don't want to have that out there.
Yeah, and it was really meant more of like, I kind of assumed that was going to happen. So this is written more towards like, if ANCs want to take a more concerted effort, and I think for, I think commissioners know in their own districts, like they have a big apartment building, or like that if they ask for, that BOE be willing to help give them the resources, pamphlets, flyers, what materials, whatever. So it's really to like, if they're ANCs that there's no requirement really in any of this other than to support the ANCs in their attempts to educate. And so, I think ANCs, the single member districts in particular, really kind of know their areas well. And BOE has done, I think, one briefing for ANCs, but understanding ranked choice voting and teaching ranked choice voting, it requires much more. And I'm a little concerned that essentially what I'm hoping is that they kind of shift the focus to be a little bit more of like teaching ANCs on how to teach, be ambassadors for ranked choice voting explanations. So, and then can put on their own programming, and then encourage folks. One of the things I would like to do is encourage folks in our community to apply for grants to educate and help teach folks, particularly folks who may English as their second language, or they're senior citizens who may struggle with some of this. So that, to your point, Commissioner, is more where I was going with this, because so I never suggested they don't do that. That's why I said intensify ahead of this. What I don't think, particularly in Ward 1, which I say in here, is because we now have an open council member race, then we have, of course, the all the other races that are going to occur, and being that Ward 1 is the most kind of diverse, particularly among English a second language, and with the high senior population, et cetera, et cetera. So we kind of check all the boxes here. It's kind of my point in this. And so I just, you know, I wanted to bring it up at the hearing and then adapt it to this resolution. So wrote it for like that reason in particular, not to be disrespectful of the outreach they've done already.
Awesome.
And to answer the indirect question, I am speaking with them. So working on that for us too. But if they do have limited time, it might make sense to try to redirect them or find a bigger space and do more outreach on our side. So if there's like a senior center, for example, that we'd want them to do a presentation at rather than having a specific thing for the ANC, that might make sense. But yeah, we can chat more about that. And thank you for putting this together, Commissioner Howard. I appreciate it. Any other questions or comments from the commission or from members of the public? All right, seeing none.
Well, hang on real quick. You had mentioned something, I'm just realizing now I didn't put it in. Acknowledging our support for the initiative or to something, or did you do that already?
You already did that.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry, now see it.
I move with unanimous consent to adopt the resolution.
All right. Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted as written. Thank you again, Commissioner Howard. Last item on the agenda before adjournment is to discuss location for 1E's March 25th, 2026 meeting. I think Commissioner Howard put this on. Happy to do something in person. I have a very slight preference for April. I don't know how other people are feeling for an in-person meeting just because baby will be here. And
oh yeah, that's right.
Useful, but if people prefer March, I can make March work too.
I know. What I was advocating for was spring. People were coming out of winter hibernation. It would be fun to do an in-person event. April is totally fine. Like I want to be respectful of the lack of sleep you will be having for a long time. And if you need breaks, your commissioners are here to help.
Appreciate it. Commissioner Footer, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, just to share some information, just to remind everybody. One, we helped establish the precedent that we can pick a location that is not within the confines or the boundaries of our SMD because of limited availability of space. Two, we have found in the past that in-person meetings, hybrid meetings in particular, are a deterrent for people to actually come and participate, and people just call in anyway. So the only people who are in person were the commissioners. And the technology that is available through the OANC that we would have to schedule to come and do all that stuff is extraordinarily clunky. And so it ends up being a detriment to people's understanding and ability to participate in our processes when we have these hybrids. So I'm just putting that out there. My personal vote is not to do any of these meetings in person because it just thwarts a lot of people from being able to do it. But understand that a lot of people do want to do it, so we'll help in any way that I can. I also am not going to. I'm going to be out of the country in March, so I will not be at the March meeting. So my vote would be for April too. So
maybe we could do like the meeting would be virtual and it's some kind of like community meetup, forum, whatever. So I'm open to that too. That's all. I just wanted to throw it out there. We don't.
Okay.
So if we need to establish a motion here, like I move that the March meeting be done virtually, as per we normally do it, because I know I took that language out of the agenda. So.
Oh yeah, we don't need to have a motion. We can just go as is and continue to chat about this.
And if you want the contact information for the people down here at HFA, it's really easy. It's just a form. I'd recommend probably trying to find another place because.
Well, what I was going to try to the woman who's here earlier, reach out to her, and surely Howard's got some kind of classroom to Zoom. It'd be kind of cool.
Howard can't give it to us for free.
Yeah.
We'd have to pay.
Yeah.
And I think when we looked at it for Howard, it ended up for a good room, it would be about $1,000 or $2,000.
Mm-hmm. Which that when we first looked at that, we were a brand new commission, didn't have a lot of money, and now we do. So like $1,000 may be fine, but there are extra steps and costs associated with doing it, Howard.
What about Hook Hall?
We'd still need to pay them too.
Oh, them too.
But they're probably pretty cheap, I would think, if you don't have food service or drink service. Which who knows? We can make it really fun. We can make it really fun.
I've looked for
the
expensive. Or
Brad, we
about
can
the
have it at your
DPR site?
place.
I know.
Yeah, Brad.
I wish I was in the backyard at St. Vincent. There we go.
What about the DPR site over by you, Brad?
The Parkview Rec Center is great. Actually, Audra and I toured that for that reason. And they've got a cool little setup there and like chairs and stuff. We looked around. I don't think we saw any like projection kind of equipment, if I recall, Audra.
No.
We would bring the projection equipment, or
Right,
let me rephrase it. The OANC has that equipment that the only thing that really a site needs to have is reliable Wi-Fi.
I think they said they did there. But reliable is a relative term.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Any other items that did not make it on the agenda or things that people wanted to discuss before we adjourn? All right. Hearing none, I will now accept a motion for adjournment.
I move with unanimous consent to adjourn.
Is there any dissent? Hearing none, the motion passes and we are adjourned as of 9 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate all the hard work tonight. Got through a lot of resolutions and motions in 2 hours. So great job, everyone.